Good evening. Yes, it's me. Very Key West, and I'll tell you why. Let me put on my hallelujah light. Better. Anyway, last night I had a very good phone call from someone I met doing my readings right from the beginning, David Burris from Orlando. And little by little we message each other and text each other. And he's like a brother at this point. So he's been kind, called me last night. He says, I love your sunglasses. And personally, I really think the reason the last couple of days have been most successful is not because of my story, but people are commenting on my sunglasses. So David, these are from Key West. I do not know the year. I don't care about the decade. They're old. But you have to save some things, no matter how old they are. Some things never go out of style. And I'm sure these will never go out of style. So, whenever anybody tunes in now for this reading, or next week, here you are. Susan Lee Mintz, right here, with her flamingo sunglasses. And they are so dark. These are the kind of glasses you wear when you are going to have an eye exam and you get dilated. These are so dark. You can't see anything. Now, for the great unveiling. Much better. My eyes much, much better. So it's just great to be able to feel comfortable again I have so many nurses. That's what's nurses and wonderful social workers. And boy, all of you are so different. It's amazing how many people you can reach by doing what you love. And when I said my story one day will be told to the world and around the world, I said yesterday, it is. It's the World Wide Web. And this morning, I had a lovely message, view from someone from Quebec, our neighbors to the north. Quebec, thank you. One day, besides everything else I asked God for, I would like to have a talk show. And I think I'd be great because I love to talk, and I'm not talking about chatter. I'm talking about issues. And that's one of the things I think would be great. It would be called, I'm not going to say any more, but I've been planning it for about 20 years. And after Jeff passed, I said, my story will be made into a movie, our story will be made, I've been planning on that for decades. But I also know I wanted a talk show, and it would be called Positively Positive. Just filed that one away. And somebody says, there's nothing good anymore. There's all these shows that just talk and chatter, and people just giving their opinions about this and that. No, I want a show called Positively Positive, where people have to, quote, send in, write, do whatever they need. Of course, I have help for that. And we'd have a guest or two on our show, and they would talk about how they went through their crisis and how they handled it and what they're doing, and we'll get more into it. But I think a show like that with me in charge of it and a great producer-director, I know exactly how it could be, and it would take off on one of the streaming services, even if it was half an hour. So, I want to say, glasses are off, except aren't they incredible? Incredible. That's it. Hi, Joanne. All right, we are going to continue with chapter 21, coping with frustration and fear, or, frustration and fear and frustration, the big F's, fear and frustration. And I want to say also again, thank you. Never take any of you for granted, never will. It's not about numbers. It's about ratings. I'm just in a very good mood because my eye is feeling better. I don't look like a raccoon tail or someone hit me, punched me, boom, right in the eye. I'm surprised all these years with my big mouth why somebody hasn't, but I've been blessed. So yesterday we started chapter 21, and I want to continue with it because it's very important. I would also say to people, don't give up now. We have only a few chapters left, and they are significant. They might make you tear up. Okay, that's a good thing. Or they may make you go, wow. Whatever you do, don't give up on this now. You've all come too far with me on my journey. You've experienced something with me that's helped. And remember the other thing I always tell you, besides this book being good for me to read, this is a book you're going to need. I promise you this, and I promise you, out there, you are going to have to handle a crisis in life that's going to test you to your core. It's going to bring out stuff in you you never thought you could ever have imagined. You're going to remember this book, Committed to Love. You're going to remember the silver-haired lady in Boca who talks into her phone every night and is going to keep reading in her next book and then go back to this one. You're going to remember that this is a book about you. Remove the marriage. Remove the AIDS. Remove the decades. And then put yourself in the middle of it. You think it's going to get easier out there? You think that the healthcare system's going to be friendlier? You think people are going to really be kinder and nicer? Well, yeah, if lightning hits them. In general, though, you're going to remember, and you can get the book. I never push it. Want to get it? Good. Don't. Fine. My website has all the information. These readings are all on my YouTube channel. This is information for you, because you will need it. And wait till I get into the hospice book. Then you're going to really feel some stuff. But I write with hope, faith, and the love of the Lord. That's it for my 5 minutes of venting and decompressing. That's what I say. I have to decompress. All right, I always back up one paragraph so you pick up where I left off yesterday. So we're going to pick up on this chapter 21, frustration, coping with frustration and fear. Sometimes I'm okay, sometimes I'm not. One paragraph before we read the new stuff. As your wife, caregiver, and friend, I was on call 24 hours a day, like a 7-Eleven. I used to say that when you were all right, so was I, quote, when you were all right, so was I, end quote, because it was nearly impossible to take care of you and myself at the same time. However, your 3 hospital stays with pneumonia were the most difficult and stressful times I faced. What made them even more frightening was that their uncertain outcomes could possibly be tragic ones. When I was home alone, I went about my work, handled my responsibilities, and functioned. I performed like a robot because everything I thought about or did revolved around you in the hospital. I could not eat or sleep because I was running back and forth at all hours of the day and night. I yelled at everyone. I did. I took my frustrations out on a lot of people. I yelled at everyone and I cried constantly. I couldn't make the simplest decisions about stupid things like what I should wear. Should I stay over with you? Should I bring your parents? I could not handle the dozens of unanswered, quote, should I, end quote, questions, because simple wasn't simple any longer. Here's where we're going to start. It's going to get intense, folks, but go with me because this is love. Real love. Our life had been permanently changed with your diagnosis. You weren't having your tonsils out. You were dying from AIDS. How could anything ever be simple again? Do you remember the first time I said, quote, Jeff, nothing is ever going to be simple again, end quote. It was the night we had the flat tire and you needed to get to the hospital. We went over that in one of the chapters. Though flat tires had inconvenienced us before you took ill. They were not life-threatening experiences, and they were that night. He was gravely ill. We had a flat tire, and I had to call 911 to get him to the hospital. We once missed a flight to Europe. Another time we were late for a wedding. And on our honeymoon in Spain, a tire blew in the middle of a vicious thunderstorm, and we went spinning around. But I never imagined something as simple and routine as a flat tire could cause such panic and fear. Think about that. A flat tire, you're inconvenienced. But think about if you have to get someone to the hospital because they're gravely ill, or it's yourself. It was a cool spring evening in April 1993. I'm going back here. But I never imagined something as simple and routine as a flat tire could cause such panic and fear. We're going back a little bit. It was a cool spring evening in April 1993. You had been coughing and spiking dangerously high fevers for several days. The x-ray revealed that your pneumonia had returned. You were scheduled to go into the hospital the following day for a 2-week intravenous treatment. That was his second bout of pneumonia. That night, your fever spiked to 104.5 degrees. You were convulsing and delusional. I couldn't get you cooled down. I called our doctor telling him you were gravely ill and needed immediate medical treatment. He said he would meet us at the hospital emergency room. I managed to get you dressed and literally carried you to the elevator into the car. I couldn't get the door open, so I propped you up against the trunk. I started the car, came around and got you, and as I backed the car out, we heard a rocking noise, and the car was shaking. It was 1 o'clock in the morning. Then the night got chilly. There we were with a flat, and our other car was being serviced. I wrapped you in a blanket and made you lie down in the back seat. Adrenaline surged through my body, and I thought my heart would leap from my chest. For a brief moment, I panicked, fearing for your life. I ran upstairs and called 911. Within minutes, the ambulance arrived and took you to the hospital. For me, a simple flat tire became a frighteningly dangerous situation. There's not one of you on the other end of this around the world who has not or will not experience something like this. Yep. Just wait. I hope you never do. I pray to God you never do. But you know what? That's life. And you might. So be prepared to do whatever you have to do to get through that situation. Your life and someone else's life will depend upon it. I panic, and then after I panic, I make a decision. Before you took ill, I never thought about the expression, quote, do you live to eat or eat to live, end quote. Let me say that again. Before you took ill, I never thought about the expression, quote, do you live to eat or do you eat to live, end quote. For 25 years, we shared a passion for food. We enjoyed cooking and eating together more than anything else we did. You had an incredible appetite and ate everything I made and usually asked for seconds. We planned many meals completely around a new cuisine with foods we had never tried before. It was great fun creating new and exciting recipes from different countries. We made our dinners fantastic adventures that were incredibly delicious. You loved coming home to, quote, guess what's cooking, in Susan's kitchen night, end quote. And that was really the way it was. I loved to cook. He loved to eat. We planned trips around food. He planned trips around restaurants, and what amazing appetite. And he could eat, and he'd never put on weight. And we both worked out, and we were blessed, but he just could eat all the time. But, you aren't eating for fun any longer. You are eating to stay alive. It didn't matter whether it was a cracker, a cookie, a piece of bread, or a scoop of ice cream. All I wanted you to do was eat. Yep. In January 1994, you developed your third bout of pneumonia. You continued to lose a tremendous amount of weight, and by April 1994, your condition had taken a critical turn for the worst. Remember now, we're 2 years into this. Your immune system was seriously compromised, and you were symptomatic with other medical conditions. That's one thing when your immune system gets run down, especially then with AIDS. As sick as he was when he was first diagnosed with pneumonia the first time, his immune system was so run down, his skin changed. He did develop the Kaposi sarcoma, the lesions he had. It was not him. He had so many things wrong. And my neighborhood where we lived, and also the people what we knew over the years, that's what happened. AIDS just devoured their bodies before we had the wonderful treatments and medications we have, and the people can live long, productive, wonderful lives, or not even be transmissible. And so he just had it at a bad time when they didn't know much about a lot. But he was symptomatic with many other medical conditions. One day, out of sheer terror, I called the doctor. This is now April 94. You were symptomatic medically. One day, out of sheer terror, I called the doctor. I was frantic. I told him if you didn't get your appetite back soon, it was going to be too late. He put you on supplements, appetite stimulants, and fortified drinks. I made you protein shakes, fresh fruit drinks, made your favorite foods, and did middle-of-the-night food runs. By July, nothing we tried helped. You didn't have enough energy to eat any longer. Remember, I'm talking now from January. I'm talking from June 1992 to July 1994. That's what it was, a little over 2 years. But don't you even get out of this story yet, and don't you feel bad. If you want to feel bad, but don't you feel bad for me. I got something out of it. I'm reading to you a book, a wonderfully successful book. I'm reading to you. Don't quit on yourself. You didn't have enough energy to eat any longer. That was one of the hospice stories. That's another thing with the hospice book. I remember the lady. She was outside and she felt terrible. She said, I can't get him to eat. She can't get her husband to eat. And I looked at her and I said, he doesn't have the strength to eat. He's just saving his energy to breathe. I'm going to knock you out with these stories from hospice. In 25 years, I never remember hearing you raise your voice to your parents. Never. You adored each other and talked about everything. I read you that chapter. I envied that relationship so. By July, we knew I needed help with your care. The time had come for hospice to assist us both. You couldn't live like this any longer. Your parents came over for their visit, and you told them about your decision. They continued to visit daily for several weeks, but their time spent with you gradually became shorter because you tired easily. Your visits with Dad were never a problem, but Mom's Alzheimer's disease caused her to make repetitious remarks and meaningless outbursts. You've been through Alzheimer's with your family, a lot of you. As your condition, all right, so your visits with Dad were never a problem, but Mrs. Mintz's Alzheimer's disease caused her to make repetitious remarks and meaningless outbursts. These became increasingly frustrating and exhausting. As your condition worsened, your patience with her became less until one day you couldn't take it any longer. Mom started to ramble on, and though barely able to speak, you looked at me and said, quote, "Please get her out of here. I cannot listen to this anymore," end quote. You've said this before to some people at times, or you had, or you will. You will if you haven't. And their relationship was marvelous, but Dad was okay to the end, but Mom had Alzheimer's, and she was constantly repeating herself over and over again, and he just lost his patience. He couldn't deal with it anymore, and he said, "Please," quote, "please get her out of here. I cannot listen to this anymore," end quote. Dad and I knew how much you loved your mother, but it was horribly painful and saddening to hear you tell your mom to leave the room. After that incident, I continued to take Mom to see you, but immediately took her out of the apartment. I'm not ready to go into chapter 22, but let me read a little bit more yet. I just feel like I'm relating. I'm so chilled when I do this. I feel like I really am, though, relating to so many people. I guess that's why this is so important, because I know at the other end you're sharing and you're speaking about it, or you're telling someone there's this lady doing this, and I know that this is unique, and I know this is something God told me to do, but you're listening. Some of you are writing this stuff down. Some of you are writing your books, your diaries. Some of you are listening. I gotta just finish this one little bit. Another incident made me brutally aware, and then I'll take this one in the last paragraph, and then we'll start 22 tomorrow. Another incident made me brutally aware of how overwhelming and exhausting a long-term, life-threatening illness can be. By June, you were not able to take care of yourself and were becoming completely dependent on me. I developed a bronchial infection, 102-degree fever, and could barely get out of bed. I felt like every nerve in my body was on fire. For days, I hadn't been able to sleep because you were up every night with a fever and coughing. My doctor said he would call me in an antibiotic. I flew out of the house, leaving you alone. When I got to the pharmacy, my prescription wasn't ready. I was told my doctor hadn't called it in yet. It was a holiday weekend. Don't get sick on holiday weekends. Don't schedule surgeries. Don't do anything on holiday weekends, especially now. I'm talking about in 1992, 93. It's different now. Don't. It was a holiday weekend. The office was closed and had gone out of town. Here I'm dealing with a husband dying from AIDS. I'm sick, spiking 102-degree fever with a bronchial infection. The office was closed. He'd gone out of town. It took 2 hours for another doctor to call the script in. I was screaming at the pharmacist, poor pharmacist, and crying hysterically at the same time. I was emotionally out of control and took my rage and frustration out on an innocent person. I reacted this way because I was frustrated and desperately afraid for you. That's where we'll stop. I will continue that paragraph again tomorrow, and then we will finish 21 and go to 22. Perfect time. So, my darlings, what can I say? It's good. It's good to love. It's good to care. It's good to give. And it's good to know you completed something. That's what I felt. Completion. Completion in everything I did. I have no loose ends. Nothing. Everything's been completed that has to be completed. There's another photo boom. My neighbor and I are going out to dinner. There was one the other day when Lucy was lying on the couch and raising her arm up and saw the cast. Photo boom, David. So anyway, God bless you all. And I thank you so much for everything. I'll see you tomorrow night at 5:30. And I will say shalom, hello, shalom, goodbye, and shalom, peace. As the Shabbat sets, the sun sets tonight on this Shabbat. Peace. Be kind. Be a little more patient. And call someone and tell them you love them while you can. It's a blessing. I'll see you all tomorrow. Let me finish. Thank you all.